Hi, welcome back. Last time I was talking on the possible implications of the price ceilings, where basically I connect the math and basic definition to the real economics. Um, so even though, let me start continue where I have left. I have already talked a little bit basically on very basics, but let me continue. Well, uh, as I said, if the number of buyers are larger in number compared with number of sellers, then price ceilings might help a larger number of people compared with the number of people it harms. So even though, according to the market surplus concept, there might be a net loss in market efficiency. In that case, most people who are participating in that market might win from this kind of market regulation. I mean, price ceiling. So in that case, very much it's possible to for majority of people to support price ceilings. I talked this on about price ceilings and price floors because in one of the books I had used previously, I mean, it says even though uh, well the price ceilings and price floors apparently harming reducing the total efficiency. Why are some people for it? And the answer was because it might benefit some powerful minorities, or it might basically actually um, it might basically be supported by the people who might be misinformed. Well, it is, as I said, it is very much possible that in terms of pure numbers, both price floor and price ceiling might benefit more people than it harms. It will still reduce the market efficiency because the people it harms might be monetarily harmed more than the minority might be harmed monetarily more than the in terms of pure monetary numbers might be harmed more than well the number of people benefit from it basically the monetary amount of the people benefit from it. But that small monetary amount might also mean a lot for some people. I mean, for example, Bill Gates might be losing $1 million. A small number of people might be getting $1,000 each, 500 people. But for those 1,500 people, $1,000 might mean a lot. Of course, can we compare this $1,000 of those people and $1 million of Bill Gates? We can't in economic sense. I mean, current economic science doesn't provide us any tool to compare those two. But the main point is because those $5,000 benefit from it, they might support it, and there might be just one guy, or in some cases, again, this kind of a disproportionate benefit and loss might exist. Some small numbers might be losing a lot of money, but some large uh, number of people might be losing small, but still, from their perspective, an important amount of money. So in that case, the majority might support the price floor or price ceiling. Anyway, let's continue. Well, of course, the buyers only benefit from the price ceiling if they are able to buy what they want to buy. In fact, actually, some buyers will not be able to satisfy their complete. Let's say they won't be able to buy the actual amount they are willing to buy at that price. And if things are completely uncontrolled, in that case, some buyers might even be able to be left without buying anything. Um, well, whatever the case is, since at least some buyers are not able to buy the amount they are willing to buy, some black market might be formed. This time, in the black market, the price will be higher than the floor, the ceiling itself. So it is the price exceeds the maximum limit at which people are legally allowed to sell their products. Um, let's go down. Um, In some cases, to prevent the black market, this time the government might or the regulators might sell the excess demand to the producers. In that case, I mean, this whole triangle will be added to the consumer surplus. So consumer surplus will be this large triangle, and actually there won't be a dead weight loss. There will be even a gain, basically. However, of course, this demand is brought out from outside of the market by government, and this money should come from somewhere, probably tax from people, and we might again ask whether this money that is used to buy this amount is used for better purpose compared with the case when it's made in the in people's pockets and used by them. But there might be some certain cases where government continuously buys and sells to stabilize the price in the market. In that case, I mean, that tax might not be necessary. Government might first buy and then sell a certain product so that the price in that market is more stable. So, examples of price ceiling. This is a famous example from the United States, the rent control in the United States. Starting with 1940s, I think it might go a little bit before that. Well, in the large cities like New York City, rent is a major expense, major problem. It is still like that. It was so also in the turn of the century. I mean, starting with 1850s, this was always a big expense, especially in big cities. So cities like New York started to, in order to help the people, legally freeze the rent. So rent is freezed, and it can only there is a maximum amount of rent that could be paid, which is actually fixed by signing a document between the landlord and the person who has rented the place, and that amount cannot be increased except when both parties agree to do that. Or state allows the owner of the apartment to do that. So this could be a problem because, I mean, when price is fixed like that, first thing that could happen is, and which happens in New York City and cities like that, for the newcomers, well, there will be an excess demand in the market. So for the people who actually want to rent new apartments in New York City, it is difficult to find new apartments, especially low quality, cheap apartments. You can find relatively easier, higher apartments at the higher end, but it's difficult to find apartments at the lower end, which I have experienced in New York City. But there is a worse problem actually. Especially in 1970s, when the United States experienced a high level of inflation, basically the rent amounts people are paying to the landlords have fallen to very low amounts. And in New York City, pretty much people are owning whole buildings like this, I mean, which contains sometimes 100 apartments. So they are not like small, I mean, they are not like someone who just have a second apartment to rent, but they are basically in business of renting in apartments, the apartment owners. But when the inflation goes too high, the amount of money they actually earn has, and they could not increase the rent even though there was inflation. So buying power of the money they earn has fallen. And in that case, the money was not at some point. The money was not even enough for maintenance of the apartments, but they still could not get the people out of their apartments also officially. So what they do is many of them have burned the apartments, and this burning has happened once also at the baseball game where basically well, the people who are at the stadium could see it, and at the very game itself, the guy who was describing the game, the speaker, has told, "Look, ladies and gentlemen, Bronx is burning here. Bronx is a neighborhood of New York City, or borough of the New York City." So that's one of the iconic sentences of the 1970s New York City. So this is an interesting case of price ceiling and what things it can do. But still, in many neighborhoods, even though the landlords even today sometimes, if they don't burn the apartments, they at least don't maintain the apartments. So, for example, the apartments might turn to be very low quality, not cleaned, the elevator is not repaired. However, still people want to keep that ceiling because that ceiling is the only thing that allows them to remain in the neighborhood close to the places where they work, which is critical for them to be productive at work. Go to work at the right time. So interesting. Again, it might create certain harms, but still people want to keep it. In New York City, even in some neighborhoods, people don't want the railway metro come to their neighborhood. Why? Because if metro comes to the neighborhood, the rent in the neighborhood could jump, and they might need to find a they might need to find they might be evicted. People who are able to pay a higher rent might get into their apartments, and they might basically need to find a new living place in another neighborhood where they need to pay again a lower where they can pay again a lower amount of rent. So this is an interesting case. Another case is this is from Turkey in 1990s, especially when the bread prices were rising up, and when there was inflation and economic crisis at the same time. Well, that was a time of financial trouble, and when a party called Refah Partisi, which is kind of predecessor of the current party who's in power in Turkey, came into power in a coalition government. They wanted to fix the price of bread, basically, which was the bread makers have reacted to that. They didn't want to do that, and in return, basically, the government, the party had also control in municipalities. So in various municipalities, they have built this state organization, Halk Ekmek, can be translated as people's bread, which was selling bread to the people in the city, in different cities, in most major cities in Turkey, where majority of the people were living, so this is the case when this excess demand at low price was met with the state supply. And even though, well, we might ask again whether this type of policy is beneficial or not. At that time, for the people who are at the very low end, this creates a source of cheap bread. And actually, it was a very powerful policy, which actually helped them promote the party itself and let it come to the power, and then its current, let's say, the current party, which is also coming from that tradition, has probably also gained some power from policies like this. Halk Ekmek, basically. Well, last example is the price ceilings. We have already talked on the price ceilings. This is a Turkish one, by the way. This is the ekmek karne, basically. This is the US, just you can see storefront. And again, as I said at the beginning, the state is fixing the price at the time of war, and also limits amount each person is allowed to buy. Alternative is leaving prices go up, and many people will not be able to buy anything. So let's stop here and let's continue in the next part.